his work as a DJ. I don't know whether many of you here know that Sewaramu juggles his work between being a DJ and a teacher at the same time. Something very, very rare. Now, today I'm here to talk about computer labs and then computing. And like you see here on the slide, this is part 1, because there is that part 2 where you'll work with the physical gadgets themselves. When we were called upon by the Uganda Communications Commission to be part of the stakeholder engagement of ICT teachers and head teachers across Uganda, many of the queries the teachers had, many of the problems they had involved their computer labs, and N-computing kept on resurfacing. N-computing was a pain. It's a pain in many schools. So that's why I thought that with my experience of working with N-computing, I think, let me get some 30 minutes and share with fellow teachers. I've personally used N-computing for, I think, almost maybe 12 years. I first worked with N-computing in 2011. So I think the little experience, the experience of a decade that I have, will be helpful to some of you here. I am Dumba Stephen. I am a teacher of ICT. I also do computer repair. I also do web design, and I'm privileged to serve as the national coordinator of the ICT Teachers Association of Uganda. From 2025 to 2021, Mr. Sebaram. So this Chisanja is here, and we are serving like we've done in the previous Chisanja. So why are we here? We want to know what thin clients are, for those who are new to thin clients. And then we are going to learn about the various N-computing models. I want to remind you that N-computing is just one of the models of thin clients. Just like you have cars, you have a Toyota, you have a Mazda, you have a Mercedes-Benz. So thin clients are also like that. N-computing is by way the most popular thin client model in Uganda. Then you want to know where to get the software, because I get many people asking me, please share with me this software, share with me that software. So today we are going to show you where you can get that software in case I am not available. Then we're also going to do the first step of configuring your server for N-computing. You see, there are 2 steps, also broken down in smaller steps. There is working on the server, then there is working on the thin client itself. So in today's session, we are going to look at the server part. Am I still clear?
Yes, you are, Mr. Dumba. You are very clear.
Thank you so much. So what are thin clients? Thin clients are those devices, computing devices that we connect to a server, and they will access Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and all the applications that you have on the main server, while allowing the users to utilize the same power of that server. You see, in a typical school, the work that you're doing on this computer is not too much. Maybe kids are simply opening a Microsoft Word document and doing some typing. Now, when you look at the computers that we have these days, the power they have is too much. So when a kid is in front of this computer and typing their document or preparing a PowerPoint presentation, there is a lot of unused resources. Take, for example, you have a computer with 4 GB of RAM with a 3 gigahertz processor. What this one kid is doing on this computer is actually a very small fraction of what this computer can do. So this is where thin clients come in. The technology is in such a way that extra power this computer has can be shared with others with just one server. Like I said in the previous slide, NComputing is just one of the many available alternatives. We have models. Dell has good thin clients, HP has good thin clients, and many others. There are very many Chinese brands I've seen around. But like I said, NComputing is by far the most popular. I think in the schools I have visited across Uganda, I can say 99% of them are using NComputing, thanks to the government, UCC and UPUSA, that have made them available across the country. So the typical layout of thin clients will look like this, what you see here. So you have a server there, and then you have users connected to that server through an ordinary switch. So here you can see you have user 1, user 2, user 3, up to user 7. You can have 8, you can have 10, and in some cases, you can have even 45 users connected to one server. But again, this has to do with how good your server is. There's also another model, X550, which we shall look at later. It's also common here in Uganda. This one doesn't use a switch. The network cables come direct from the thin client direct into the server through a PCI slot. What you see there on the right is that black thing you see on the right is the thin client next to the monitor. So a cable runs from that thin client to the switch, and it picks a session from the other server. So on that server, you have the usual admin account, maybe admin or a name you prefer. And then you have 10 other users, 8 other users, even 5, 20 other users. And so you do it in such a way that the person on the first monitor is using the account user 1, and the person on the second monitor is using the account user 2, and so on. We shall not delve so much into this because I know in your schools you have already seen this at work. So the common NComputing models are, there is U170, X550, L300, M300, MX100S, and L400. I have personally used all these models here, apart from the L400, which I haven't yet worked on, but it's not so different from the L300. I've looked at the reviews, gone through the setup. I haven't used it personally, but all the other models there. And these ones here are just a few of the models, but these are the common ones. Unfortunately, one of the problems teachers are complaining about is outdated NComputing models. For example, the X550 that you see on the left, this one will work strictly on Windows 7, and we all know that Windows 7 has been phased out. It will work with a computer that has strictly a PCI slot on the motherboard. So if your server doesn't have a PCI slot, it will not fit. It has even been phased out by NComputing. U170, the case is the same. The difference between these two is that the U170 was able to use a USB mouse and keyboard, while the X550 uses the other PS2 mouse and keyboard. This one has proved to be very, very, very stubborn for many people, many of our colleagues in the schools. The other models that are on their way out, there is M300 on the right. L300 is also on the way out. MX100S, which is relatively new, sadly, is also on the way out. These people at NComputing have what they call end of life. So if you're not careful and you find yourself that maybe you have to reinstall this model some years later, you'll find that you cannot even get the software from their website because they have phased it out and they have blocked access to that. and they'll be forcing you to buy newer software, which will work only with newer models. We have to be very careful right now. For example, those who have N-Computing MX100S is being phased out. I think in 2 years' time, it will be out of life. And however, for me, in my lab here, I have X550, one of the oldest models. And there is a way I have worked with it to make sure that at least it will always, I always use it until maybe one day when I change this server. Unfortunately, it's using an older operating system, which was also discontinued by Microsoft. L300 somehow is on the way out, but the L400 is the newest, one of the newest models. Relatively new, I think it's just around a year old, a year or two. So if you're buying N-Computing right now, just please get the necessary funds and buy the L400. And with a small trick that I'll tell you, you can use this model for even 10 or even more years. However, I have been to some labs and I've noticed some problems. Yeah, the teachers tell you the problem is when all the students are connected to the server, it becomes so slow. When you connect it to the internet, the system is so slow. But you have a computer with 9 extra users, that is 10 in total. For the case of N-Computing MX100S, you have 10 users on this server, and you have only 4 GB of RAM. Personally, I would recommend 1 GB per user. So it means if you have 10 users connected to your server, maybe around 8 GB. And if you can afford, because the price of RAM is not so high these days, I would opt for 16 GB or more. And then we all know that SSDs, solid state drives, improve on the performance of your computer. So if you have hard disk drives, with time, please advise the administration to replace those hard disk drives with solid state drives. The performance of your computer will improve so greatly. The quality of cables we use also has to be put into consideration. I have bought network cables on GG, and we have a tendency to go for the cheapest. And there's a time I got a cable, and I even asked the sender that, is this really a network cable? And the guy told me that you put it in a switch and put it in a computer, and we see whether the internet won't go through. And indeed the internet would go through, but the quality, the copper in that cable, you really need some good quality cables which come at a price. However, this doesn't mean that you have to buy outdoor network cables, as they are too, what should I say, rigid, that they can disturb your gadgets. So good quality cables is key. Opt for SSDs as opposed to HDDs, and then at least have a GB ready per user. And then the quality of the network switch also has to be good. Although, according to N-Computing, they don't require a gigabit switch, but I would at least request that maybe I would advise that you use a gigabit switch as opposed to the ordinary 10/100 switches. And the mother of all advice, please protect your servers with deep freeze. This has been so debatable. Almost all the teachers I have worked with, when I tell them to use deep freeze, they are like, the kids have to save their work on the desktop. The kids have to save their work on the desktop. So there is no way you are going to use deep freeze, because with deep freeze, it puts your computer in the same state after installing everything that you need on your server, and then you install deep freeze, your computer will never be disturbed by viruses. But the fear of my fellow teachers is that when you put deep freeze, it means the kids have to learn how to save work in drive D or E or any other drive, as opposed to saving work on drive C. Personally, I take this as a very childish excuse. I don't think it will take a kid more than 5 minutes to know that I have to save my work in drive D. And they also tell me that UNEB tells the kids to save work on the desktop. So when the computer shuts down, their 1-2 hours work will disappear. I think it is a call for UNEB to adjust on this instruction. But that's what teachers tell me. But remember, UNEB is made of teachers like you. Take your argument to UNEB professionally and show them that forcing or insinuating that in order for a kid to successfully save work, they have to save on the desktop. I think this is archaic. This is we are living 20 years behind. I don't agree with it totally, but I'm not the king here. I'm not the one to decide what happens. But I would really appreciate if this instruction or our teachers, we kind of adjusted and came back to reality. If you have a 1 terabyte hard disk with partitions, then what are the other partitions for? And what are you teaching your kids to do? To always save work on the desktop, cluttered desktops? No, that's not the case. So the setup process is kind of simple. It might be intimidating if you're new to it, but I want to simplify it in this way. Just ensure that your server has a freshly installed operating system. You have to know which model works with which operating system. For example, we know that X550 works with Windows 7 and backwards. Then we know these other models are comfortable working with Windows 10 and so on. But as teachers of ICT, you also know that Windows 10 is being phased out. So you have to put these things into consideration, even when buying which in computing gadget you're buying. The first step would be for you to download vSpace. I'm going to show you how to do that. And then we are going to show you how to rename your PC. Many times we don't rename these PCs. Some are going to be seeing this for the first time. And then add user accounts, then add users to remote desktop, and then install vSpace. So this will be part 1. Part 2 involves working with the physical gadgets themselves. So for today, I want to see that at least we are comfortable up to here. So this is, first of all, the end of the background. We are going to have someone sharing our desktop such that we go through these things one by one. Let me stop my share. Thank you. So, Mr. Eric, do I have any questions for now before we continue? Because we are going into the real aspects of working with what? With the vSpace software. Do you have any questions, colleagues? I hope I'm not talking to myself.
We don't have any questions so far.
All right.
I'm not seeing any questions, but preferably, I think some people can put in the chat in case of anything. Mr. Dumba, are you able to hear me?
Yes, I'm able to hear you. So we are sharing the desktop of one of our computers here.
Okay.
Could you minimize your screen? Minimize your browser. Minimize that too. Minimize. Minimize. All right, so this is our computer here. It's fresh. I hope everyone can see the screen clearly. Sewaramu, please help me confirm that.
Yes, we are okay. We can see the screen clearly. An empty desktop.
Yes, an empty desktop. So the first thing we are going to do, let us download the software. So what we are going to do, let's go to Chrome. Chrome, maximize. There is that screen with. Okay, now let's go to Chrome, and then NComputing has the official website, ncomputing.com. So when you go to NComputing, ideally you must have an account. You must have an account if you are to download software from them. For me, I already have one. Let us, if you want to download software here, we are going to support. I have logged into this account. You go to support, and then at the bottom right, there is a download now button. Support, and then download now. There is a blue button with download now. And then it will bring you, let us scroll up. Scroll. There, no, down, back, that there. So here, you have to identify which model you have. So today we are going to choose the MX100S for this lesson. So under the product model, so you see, I mentioned some models of NComputing, but here you can see even a longer list of models. And you'll find that X550 is not there. Then even U170 is not there. So that's why I say it is good if you know you have a model like MX100S, you download the software now and keep it, because when it runs out of, when it comes to this end of life, you'll not be able to get it in this list. So we are going to click on MX100S. And then under the operating system, you're going to choose Windows 10. And then we click apply. So from there, we have two options. There is the first option up. There is VS Pro Enterprise, but I wouldn't recommend you to download that. Let us go down to vSpace Pro LTS. This is what I use for MX100S. You can read through the overview, the descriptions for you to know which model, which software to download. But if you're particularly using MX100S, vSpace Pro LTS is what I would recommend for now. And then you go to download. Now, someone in the chat is saying, please share the download link. This is why we are here in this session. You will not have this download link forever. Like I said, so it is downloading. What you're supposed to do is, a few seconds and vSpace Pro 11 will have downloaded. The thing is, first know the official website of NComputing. The official website is ncomputing.com. And then from ncomputing.com, when you go to log in, they will ask you to create an account if you don't have one. So we have that. So just go copy that, click there, and please copy. and then paste it on the desktop. I see the word desktop somewhere on the left, click. So let us save it on the desktop. Let's paste. So we have our VS Pro on the desktop. So sir, who is asking for downloading, this is not a Google Space, sorry, a Google Drive link. There is an official website with the official software. So maybe can you close that and get back to ncomputing.com? Will you close that? So let's go to let us just type ncomputing.com afresh in the address bar. So you'll go to ncomputing.com. That is the official website. I even see this during UNEB exams. The teacher comes and says, please someone help me with the support files. Where UNEB has an official website and the official source of the support file, but someone is coming in a group and asking for a link or for the files. I think this is something that we shouldn't really be comfortable with. We shouldn't practice that. So if a website has an official what? If the software and hardware, this ncomputing, if they have their official website, ncomputing.com, I would encourage you, if you have ncomputing at your school, just create an account. It is very simple. And then you'll go, once you log in, go to support. Let's try support again. You'll go to support, then at the bottom, you'll see download. And then from download, scroll down, you'll choose the model, maybe L300. Let's check L400. You can click on L400, and then the operating system, maybe you'll choose Windows 11, and then click apply, and then it will show you the software to download. So at the bottom, you're going to see a download link. So there's Pro Enterprise, and so you can click on that one, the first option. Down, and you have your original files. So as simple as that. So that was the first step. We have downloading the software. You can cancel this and let's continue with that. Let's continue. You can minimize that. So for those who don't have the software of the older models, you can inbox me. My numbers are in the groups already, or even on these slides, which I will share. And I'll send you ncomputing X550, the vSpace for ncomputing X550. So there we are. Step 1, software done. What was step 2? Let us look at this computer. Yes?
Yes, thank you for your presentation. But now there are some inquiry from the chat there.
Yes,
you can keep
please.
reading for us. Yeah, before you go to maybe another step. Thank you.
Wilfred is asking for how much is the price. Can ncomputing models work on Linux, OS, and Mac? We can see the desktop. For the price of ncomputing, kindly go to Gigi. The last time I checked, I don't remember the price, but if you go to Gigi, you will find the current price of. Can you try Gigi? Gigi.ug. Gigi, Gigi.ug. Enter. Let us see the current price of ncomputing. Ncomputing L400. Enter. So let's scroll down. So here, someone is selling it at 670. But remember, the L400 is a single gadget. So if you have a server and you want 10 extra users, you're going to buy 10 extra thin clients at 670,000. Someone is selling at 600,000 and there's someone selling at 590,000. So let us take the price to be around 600,000. So if you want 10 extra users, you're going to buy those and then you'll put what you're seeing there, you'll put it behind the monitor. Then someone is saying, can N-computing work on Linux? Yes. For Mac, I don't know, I haven't tried, but on Linux, yes, N-computing works on Linux. But for Uganda's case, we are teaching using Windows. So you have to remember that. So will you close that? Thank you for those questions. Now,
yeah, but thank you for answering. Yeah,
you're welcome. Now the other thing is, when we install Windows on computers, we rarely give them appropriate names. But why should you give your computer a name? Someone will ask. You see, you are in a computer lab of 40 users. This means perhaps you have 4 servers. Each server has 9 extra users, or even 10. So you have a server with 9 extra users. So you have 4 servers to make 40 users in a computer lab. While installing in computing like MX 100S, it is good for you. You will have to identify which server you are connecting the thin client to. Now let us look at the computer name of this computer here, the one we are using. Would you please right click on this PC and then properties. So if you look at the computer name is desktop 78PC1S3. That's a generic name. This was given to this computer automatically when we were installing Windows 10. Now, if you have 4 of them, there is a chance that you will get confused on which server you want to connect your thin client. You remember for the X of MX100, those gadgets come in sets of 3. So for a 10 user setup, you'll need 1 server and then 3 sets of N-computing MX100S. Each of these sets has to connect to your computer through a switch. But then you have another server. So at least it was good if in your computer lab you can give them names like server 1, server 2, server 3, and so on. So you can close here. Or maybe, no, you can go to advanced system properties. And then we go to computer name, the first tab. I strongly advise that you give your computer an appropriate name. And then we have where you see the button with the word change. So you're going to give this computer an appropriate name. So let us name it server 1 without spaces. Smallest. Server 1. So you have your computer name as server 1. So if you have 4 servers in your computer lab, so you'll name another one server 2, another one server 3, and another one server 4, because they are all connecting using the same switch. So you can click OK. And then it will tell you it has to restart. Just click OK. And then close. So it is asking us to restart now or restart. However, let us go through that process. Let us restart now. We shall have this person back again. Do we have any other questions so far before we continue? So according to our slides here, let me share this. The first step was downloading vSpace. and then renaming your PC appropriately, which we've done. So you have server 1. If we had 4 or 5 of them, would give the names like server 2, server 3, server 4, and so on. Then the third step, what we are going to work on, please, you'll inform us when the computer has come on. We are going to give them user accounts. Now, what happens? You have a server with an admin account. Now, for these other extra users, you can give names like student 1, student 2, student 3, and so on. So you give names like student 1, student 2, student 3, student 4, and each of these users will have a password. That's what we are going to do in our next in step 3. Usually what we do, because you're working in a generic environment, a student environment, for me, I use the same password for all the users. If it is student 1, I'll give a password for all the users. It will be the same password. After all, this password will not be used by these students. So is our computer back? All right. So we have user accounts. And then step 4, we'll be adding these users to remote desktop. And then finally, installing vSpace. We have 15 more minutes, and I think by that time we shall have done. You're back. All right. So our computer is back. Can you please share your desktop? Let me see. Do you have any other questions? So here we have. So let us go and check on our server's name. We're going to right click on this PC. Properties. And yes. No. Close that. So you see that now our name is server 1, not the other generic name that we had. So like we said, we are going to add users to this computer. How are you going to do that? We are going to right click on this PC again. We can close this. And then we are going to right click on this PC and then choose manage. Then at manage, we are going to go to where we see local users and groups. And then in the panel in the middle, there is users. So you're going to double click users. Remember, the computer has its default users. There is Steve, that's the admin user, and the other users that we are created generically that you don't actually use. So we want to add our own users here, maybe 10 of them. And how are you going to do that? You're going to right click in that empty space. And then new user. And then username is going to be student 1, or you can choose your own capital S. It's not really important, but I'm someone who's so strict with that. You can student 1. No, you can remove the space if you don't want to be disturbed in some cases. And then full name again will be student 1. And then for password, you'll be asked to put a password. Let us put a simple password, 1 to 5. And then we are going to confirm the password again. And then where you see user must change password at next logon, we are going to remove that check mark. And then we are going to say user cannot change the password. You are going to put a check there, and then password never expires. The reason you do this is because I don't see a check mark. Okay, that's there. The reason we do this is because if you leave this option on, that the user must change the password on the next log on, the moment the server restarts, a user will be asked to change their password. And you as a teacher, you will not know which password the student put. Sometimes the students also forget their passwords. They will disorganize the class. So the first option of must change password, you remove it. Then the second option, that user cannot change the password, you do it because I go to some labs, or teachers call me and they are like, this password here changed. The students changed the password. It is because this was not checked. And then password never expires. Just don't allow the password to expire. I know these are options in remote desktop, but for a normal class, this is what we do. And then when that is done, you click create. And then it will ask you, do you want another username? So you're going to put student2. Student2. And then full name again, student2. So you'll continue with password, use the same password. Then that, and then create. Yeah, let's create a third one. So you can create up to, you can create for ENCO. For usually what we do in these computer labs, we put 9 extra users on a server if we are using MX100S. If you are using X550, we put 10 users. So for today, just for demonstration purposes, let us create only 3. And then here we close. So now you see you have student1, student2, and student3. So if you wanted more, you'll have students 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Now that phase is done. We can close the computer management window. After that, the next step, the second last step, is adding these users to remote desktop. You want them to be able to access your server while they are on their other clients. So you're going to right click on this PC. And then go to properties. And then just go to remote settings. Then allow remote connections. If you don't allow, these users will not be able to access the server. Then okay. So you click allow remote connections to this computer, then you click select users. Then here you're going to add your users. So you're going to click add. The first user was student1. Student1. I usually do check names just to make sure this user is is on our list. Check names. When you click check names, you'll see it will add the server. It will add server at the beginning, then student1. So it means you type that user where, the username where. So you click OK. And then you are going to add another user, student2. And then check names. And then OK. Then student3. Check names. Okay. What happens if you add a user who is not in, whom you've not created? Let us try that. Let's go to add, put student4, and then check names. So it will bring this something like this. So it shows you that that user was not yet created. So that's why I opt for check names, although it's optional. So let's cancel that. So we have cancel that too. So we have our 3 users, and then we click OK. And then apply. And then OK. So now what you have done, you renamed your server. Why we do this is, at least if someone knows up to this level, and then you call me, it will take us a shorter time troubleshooting the errors, the problems we have with your computer lab. So we have our clean installation of Windows 10. And then we have renamed our server appropriately, server 1 or server 2 or whatever. Then we have the users well set out with their passwords, and then we've added the users to remote desktop. Now, the last step for this session would be to install VS Pro, which is simple. Let us close this window. Then let us unzip this. Right click. This is a rather straightforward process. Extract just OK in the desktop. Okay. So this was vSpace Pro 11. So you double click that. And then open that folder too. And then you double click the one at the bottom, the one with the word Windows Installer. That's the installation file. So you double click that. Or someone is asking, how do I add a printer to the server? When you installed Windows on your computer, you are free to install whatever you want, whatever you feel you will need, the students will need during exams and lessons. That means the printers and so on and so forth. So here we click next. This is pretty straightforward. Express installation next. I accept the license agreement. Install. And vSpace, the proprietary software for N computing, is being installed. Ladies and gentlemen, ideally, this is part 1 of the installation process. It doesn't have to take you ages. It isn't something that is really very technical. Then install, click install, install again. Again and again. Again. Don't restart. Remove the check mark. There is a check mark where it says restart computer. So it is asking for a restart, but here, for purposes, let us not restart this, finish. No. So it will restart this computer later. You can close this window. And close that. Now, vSpace is installed. If there is anything you haven't understood, this is time for questions before we wrap up our session.
Maybe Mr. Dumba.
Yes, please.
I've seen just a few questions from the chat here. Somebody was asking, how do they get to know that the gadget they are going to buy will work? I don't know. That is Mr. Luswata Emmanuel. Then somebody was also talking about how to block sites which are not required using server computers. In other words, how do they restrict learners from getting access to some of those sites?
The options of blocking websites are many. I think, Mr. Sebaram, we can schedule an entire each one session just specifically for that. You can do some strictly on the server itself, going to the host file. You can do that, just talk about it. You can use your router, the router itself that you're using. Then there's even software that you can use to block sites. Yeah, there are many options.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think this brings us to the need to create to have another session specifically for that.
Okay. Then somebody was asking if it is on YouTube, and then how do they add printers to the server?
To add a printer, you just install your printer on this server. For example, can you please go to Google Chrome? If he is available, what printer is he using? Okay, let us just search for in the search bar. HP. Well, what model can we use? 2135, 2130 drivers.
Maybe H35 like that.
30, okay, 30.
2035.
35.
2035.
2035.
Yeah,
let us
there.
look for HP 2035. 2035 drivers. So you press enter, and then you go to, let me see the first option. The first option, and then the end. Does this one have drivers for Windows 10? Yes, just accept it. So the 2035 drivers, then let us go down. Let us click on the word drivers. Let's click, open all, choose A. However, 2035 disturbs a bit. If you see that the size of drivers is 5 MBs, for some people it will be tricky installing this on Windows 10. It's an older printer, by the way. Let us go and look for a printer that has, no, let's just click, okay, HP Windows 10 drivers. Drivers, let's go up, first option. Support and drivers. We didn't choose the printer, but let us just click on printer. The first button, printer. Then identify your printer. Let us just click on this first one that came. Click 26, 23. Or let us search for that. 26, 23. Search. Printers one. Then you click on that one, all in one. Does it have drivers for Windows 10? Let's scroll down. Continue down. Now let us go to installation software full basic driver, the second option. And then you click download. I recommend getting drivers from the official sources. So we have downloaded the drivers for HP, was it 26, 23? So let us open the folder. Copy that to the desktop. Now you can minimize your windows and let us install So we have the driver there next to recycle bin. You just double click. Sometimes it will ask you to connect the printer, and we don't have it here. So you double click and go through the normal setup process, and your printer is connected to is installed on your server. From there, all users on your server will be able to print using that very printer. Any other question? This on YouTube. Talk about the Windows for servers, please. Mr. Sewaramu, help me understand this query.
Anyway, somebody was saying, talk about the Windows for servers, please. In my own understanding, I think there was a question related to that, where they were asking, do other Windows like Windows 10 Pro or Enterprise support server services, or it strictly needs Windows Server? I think that was the question.
Oh, actually for us, what we are using here, we are using ordinary Windows, not necessarily. We are using the standard Windows operating system, not the Windows Server operating system. So that the one who wanted to know how to connect printers, just click continue here. Then next, I have reviewed, accept, no thanks, notify, okay, apply, no. You can choose yes, that's optional. And then you have your software installed on the server. And I think that is all. Any other question? Is there anything else?
Yes, Mr. Dumba, Wilfred here.
Yes.
I think we must appreciate you for the effort you are doing.
Yes.
I started following you almost now 7 years.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you have helped a lot. Now, maybe the other section, we may arrange another section on how to do the connection, the hardware part of it.
That's why we recommend that this is part 1, and then we shall have part 2. Someone is asking, any computing is always attacked by viruses, and this makes always the clients blink without display on the monitors. Now, this is where deep freeze comes in. If you have deep freeze on your computer, like my computer, my lab right now, I don't know when I think I last installed Windows on this computer in 2016, and it is in the same state every day. It is protected by deep freeze. You may not need to go for an antivirus. If the computer misbehaves, you just restart your computer and everything is perfect. That's what I would recommend, but it is something that I'm battling, convincing fellow teachers that actually deep freeze works. I have already installed any computing tools, but with vSpace Enterprise, and it always disconnects the clients and remain on infant stage. What can I do? I advise you to go, now that you've seen, to download vSpace LTS, vSpace Pro LTS, and use that. That was from Luswata. Emmanuel. Amutaire Felix says, thank you, Dumba. Please, we need official website to purchase antivirus. There are many official websites. Every antivirus you hear of has the official website. Kaspersky.com, then Avast.com have their websites. How do you carry out deep freeze? Do I have deep freeze here for Windows 10? Unfortunately, no, but it is a small software that you use. Maybe I'll just explain what deep freeze does. Moses Kasa raised the hand. Can someone allow him to speak? Kasabwai.
I just wanted to say something about the antivirus program.
Yes, sir.
The best solution we have in Africa, I don't know if you people can hear me.
Yes,
I'm
we
on
can
the
hear
road.
you, Moses.
The best solution we have for antivirus in Africa is deep freeze, because those antivirus solutions are very tasking for our computers. So in most cases, after installing the antivirus, you're going to realize that your computer is very slow because you don't meet the recommended requirements. You have the minimum requirements, but you don't have the recommended requirements. For example, they'll tell you that for a child to have passed O-level, they need to have 2 credits. But we all know that for a child to actually have what it takes to join A-level, they need at least 4 credits. So the same thing applies here. For us, we just go and buy antiviruses, but we actually don't know what we are buying. Secondly, Windows Defender has sufficient security if you keep updating it. So in case you have bigger problems, for example, you're dealing with students that have flash disks and downloading things they don't understand, deep freeze should be your friend. You need to learn all the tricks that are there about deep freeze, and you will never suffer again. I tell you that from experience.
Wow, what a good explanation. Can you please hide this window? Thank you so much, Moses, for elaborating. Can you please minimize that window? There is the printer setup. Hide it, hide it. We don't need it now. Okay, now let me just explain maybe a little about our deep freeze. I'm still seeing the window. Is it still on your screen? We don't need that window anymore. Charismat, you have a question. Charismat, you had a question. Click on connect later. And then next. Finish. Is Charismat with us? Okay, now I'm going to ask the person sharing the computer to open this PC. Double click this PC. Now, my computer here that I'm seeing on the screen has 2 partitions, local disk C and local disk D. Charismat, are you saying something?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dumba.
Yes, sir.
So my question is all about, is it which brand or which model of computers that are the best compatible with any computing?
When I was explaining this, I was like, at least if you have 1 GB per user. So it's not about which is the best. Otherwise, you will not buy the best. Sincerely,
which brand compatible with any computing?
Which brand? Can I get the question again? Okay.
I was asking.
Yes, sir.
So I was asking which computer brand that is better in any computing?
All brands, as long as they are computers and meet the minimum requirements, will work. Whether you have an HP, whether you have a Dell, but just make sure you have a good processor and good RAM, at least 1 GB for each user. I hope this answers your question. Now, about deep freeze. Deep freeze is a small piece of software that works in this way. We have here local disk C and local disk D. Windows is installed on local disk C. And in most cases, 99% of the times when your computer is malfunctioning, it is the operating system that is malfunctioning. So it requires that you reinstall the operating system, taking you through this entire process. It will require reinstalling programs, any computing misbehaving, and many other issues. So how do you avoid this? Make sure your computer is partitioned. You have local disk C and a minimum, another partition, local disk D. Some hard disks, so some people can have even 5, 2, 3 partitions. But let us take a minimum of 2 partitions. Windows on local disk C, and then all your data programs, your documents, pictures, music, videos, all of that, your backup on local disk D. Remember, we said when viruses attack, they are attacking local disk C, they are attacking the system, the operating system. So when you install when you install Deep Freeze, you will tell it, now that my computer is fresh, now that I have all my programs on this computer, I want my computer to be in this very state forever. So when you're sure that everything is perfect, the programs are working fine, you'll install Deep Freeze, and then you'll tell Deep Freeze, please freeze local disk C for me. Freeze it in that state, so that even when a virus comes, it will sit there temporarily. When you restart the computer goes back to the state in which it was. Look at this. When I hear in the upper and the northern hemisphere, sometimes ice is, should I say, washed away? Something like an avalanche. The ice is washed away, and then they will find animals that died 1 million years ago with the grass that is fresh in their mouths. Maybe they died when they were feeding. Now imagine that this animal was kept in that state for a million years. So what Deep Freeze also is doing is, once you set up your computer and you say, this is the perfect state in which I want my computer to be, Deep Freeze will freeze for you local disk C. Everything that you put in local disk C, even if you save the document on the desktop and then you restarted your computer, you will not find that desktop that document on the desktop again. It has frozen it. You might lose the document, but it is also helping you remove all the funny viruses that could have attacked your documents or your file system. But on local disk D, all your data is safe. So I think I'll also do a video and show teachers how to use Deep Freeze. But like Moses says, it is one of the best solutions. Sebalamu has been to my place. I think he has never found me repairing computers. My computers here are protected by Deep Freeze. And like I said, my computer lab was last worked on, I think, in 2016. It's coming to 10 years, and every day the students just switch it on, work on their Microsoft programs, and then switch off. Tomorrow in the morning, they are in the same state, no problem, even in the cafe. So that's why I would recommend that teachers get used to using Deep Freeze. You'll chase away all these problems in the computer lab. And if there are no questions for me, unless there's someone to wrap this up. Sebalamu, are you there?
Yes, Mr. Dumba.
Yes, I think that's all I had for you today. You can stop the share.
Thank you very much. We've appreciated so much whatever has been shared today. Looking forward to receiving part 2 of preparing our computer for computing. And then on the same note, I also want to re-echo my previous statements. The ICT Teachers Association of Uganda, one of the key pillars is the evening from 8 a.m. So any other teacher that has something to share, please feel free. This is that can help us build the capacity as our teachers. So we are powered by Shareability Uganda Limited, Izon School of Computing, the Rapt Creative Academy, and the ICT Teachers Association of Uganda. Thank you very much. We meet again next week on Tuesday. I'm seeing a thanks message from Robin Francis. We intend to normally spend the strict we are going into 20 minutes past 9, but it is of course for the better. And we close. Dear Lord, we thank you for this session, and we thank you for the power that you are using to have our ICT teachers, each one teaching one every Tuesday. We thank you for the deliberations that have been made, and may we put these into consideration. We pray for little, expecting much from you.